Explain like I'm 5. My kid wants to know why stones don't burn like wood or cloth. My 3-year-old asks if she could touch a candle flame when wearing a glove. I said no, because then the glove could start burning. 2. I know it's possible to suffocate the flame, but I don't want 3 to try that out with their own hands. Kid then cleverly asked if the glove would still catch fire if it was made from stone. I said no. Couldn't answer the inevitable next question, why? Help me out? An explanation worded for actual 5 3-year-olds would be appreciated. It's a simplification, but stones are already burnt. Are you able to burn ashes? Of course not, because everything that can burn already turned into flame and the ashes are what was left. More accurately, what a stone is made from, usually silicon oxides and/or metal oxides, has already oxidized. Oxygen has already combined with its chemical elements so that no more oxygen can become part of the structure. Other minerals are made from chemical combinations that are even more stable than oxides, making those also unable to burn. Stones don't burn, but they can melt. Lava is just melted stones. However, it takes a lot more heat than just a candle is capable of producing. Fire science major here. Not that it matters. But rocks are also too dense to burn with just a candle flame. Think of burning paper versus twigs versus branches versus logs. The more dense something is, the more thermal energy will be required to ignite it. Stones have a high thermal mass because they can store and absorb heat very readily, whereas something like a piece of cardboard has almost no significant thermal mass because it has a very small ability to absorb or store heat. Fire is a chemical reaction. This chemical reaction releases energy in the form of heat and light. In flammable materials like cloth and wood, this chemical reaction takes place easily. All it needs is a spark and oxygen to start the process. Non-flammable materials are typically made of things that inhibit this chemical reaction. Fire can't burn things that don't chemically react to oxygen. Coal is a rock that burns. But it's a special kind of rock. As others have said, most rocks are already oxidized. As a side point, you can burn diamonds. It's really dense carbon. Easier to do in an oxygen-rich environment. Nile Red has a video where he burns diamonds to release CO2 to carbonate water with. Neat watch. They can burn, but a normal flame temperature is not hot enough. You need a real powerful flame to melt stones and stuff. I think anyways. Mostly I want to suggest that you do whatever you can to encourage that playful curiosity. Your 3-year-old doesn't need facts as answers. They need support to come up with imaginative hypotheses. What about gloves made of flowers? How would we find that out? Why doesn't the sun burn up flowers? Or does it? Easy kid-friendly answer: it's the carbon compounds burning in the flame. When carbon combines with oxygen in the air, it produces heat. Rocks contain minerals rather than organic carbon compounds. If you want a simple scientific explanation that may be a bit much for a 3-year-old, but might vary, you can use different parts of this to answer various levels of why. Photosynthesis is plants building themselves out of CO2, water and energy. Light burning is the opposite, consuming the plant material made of carbon hydrogen using oxygen to make CO2 and water vapor while releasing energy. Since stones aren't created from CO2 water, they can't burn. We can do a demonstration. Take a jar and put a cardboard in the center. Take 2 different types of marbles, placing one type in each half. Now remove the cardboard. Now, ask the kid to shake the jar. Do the balls mix? Burning coal is like this. You take something organized and release the energy in unorganized form. This results in a flame. After the balls have been mixed, ask the kid to shake it again. Did anything change? Nothing changes because there isn't much left to mix. Trying to burn stone is like this. Entropy. When you burn something, you're causing a chemical reaction between a substance like fuel and oxygen at least. In the case of candles and household fires, which requires and produces heat, not all substances react to oxygen in this way. Rock is a great example. But substances that are rich in organic hydrocarbon compounds like cloth and wood react pretty readily with the oxygen. Essentially, the heat helps break the teeny bonds between the atoms of cotton or wood or whatever. And those bonds instead latch onto oxygen, forming the byproducts of the reaction: ash, gas, water vapor, etc. You know how trees need sunlight to grow? The tree absorbs energy from the sun and uses that energy to organize its molecules into what we call a tree. But if you give it the right kickstart, the wood can let all that stored energy go. That's what fire is: delayed, concentrated sunlight. A rock can't burn because it didn't need sunlight to become itself. Since it didn't store any sunlight, it doesn't have any to release in the form of fire. That's it. The best explanation is that things which are or were alive can burn while things that never were do not. The reason for this is that all living or previously living things contain carbon, which can react with oxygen to create carbon dioxide and release the energy which were consumed in their creation. Of course, it's not perfect. There are non-organic compounds which contain carbon and also non-carbonic substances which burn. Short version: everything can burn for people. Common understanding of the word burn. You just need a stronger flame. For some stuff it would require you to send them into the sun, but with enough temperature you can destroy anything. No one seems to be explaining like you're 5. You can think of fire like it's eating something. Fire likes to eat wood and cloth. Fire can't eat rock. You could explain that similarly to a human. The fire has to breathe to be alive. In that way, the stone doesn't give the fire any air to burn. You could also show how suffocating the flame with like a glass upside down will make it stop burning. Fire is what happens when oxygen gets too excited to mix with something. Oxygen doesn't like mixing with stone, so it doesn't get excited enough to make fire. But things made of wood and most cloths, like wool or cotton, contain a lot of carbon, which oxygen does like to mix with. Add in some heat, which makes oxygen even more excited to mix with things, and you get fire. Fire is a chemical reaction. That wouldn't mean much to them though. Other people have talked about the chemistry a bit. But as for the difference as to why, on a sort of instinctual level, things that can burn are like dominoes set up in a line ready to be knocked down. Fire is when you push the first one over and that releases energy to knock the next one over. A rock is dominoes that are not lined up ready to be knocked over. Pushing on one does nothing because they're not set up to do something. Some materials are non-combustible, fireproof. At high temperatures, stone either crumbles or melts depending on its composition. Oh, this is fun. I have a 2.5-year-old who is very curious about these kinds of things. For that age, I would frame it as fire is hungry and it needs food to keep burning. Rocks don't have any fire food in them, but things like wood are full of yummy food for the fire to eat. Things burn because they are releasing stored sunlight. After wood burns, all the energy is released and the ash can't burn more because it is out of sunlight. Rocks are like ash and they don't have sunlight in them and they need to be alive first to convert the sunlight into something that can burn.